Okay, so students, now we'll talk about solving the system of linear equations using Gaussian elimination. So the way we normally do this is I give you a system of linear equations like this and you solve for the unknowns x1, x2 and x3. Okay, so it goes through two stages. One is called the forward elimination and followed by what is called the backward substitution. Okay, so the way you do that is you write down the coefficients of the variables x1, x2 and x3 and then the right hand side value, and first we will make these two things 0. So if I were to present, so we would be making these two things 0, right? So we do this, we make them 0 using this one, okay? Using this row, especially this 2 will make these two things 0. So the kind of transformation is we are making this row 2 equals row 2 minus this coefficient 3 over 2 times this row 1. Okay. Similarly, row 3 equals row 3 minus this row 3 coefficient, which is 1, divided by 2 times row 1. Okay. So when you do this transformation, so row 1 remains the same as it is, then this becomes 3 minus 3 over 2 times 2, so that's going to be 0. So the objective is actually to make 0. Then negative 1 so that's going to be negative 1 minus 3 over 2 times negative 4. So that's going to be negative 1 minus becomes plus 3 over 2 times 4. Now you have 3 times 2, which is 6, right? So that's going to be 5. Then this is going to be 1 minus 3 over 2 times 1. So that's going to be negative half. Then 11 minus 3 over 2 times 6, which is going to be 11 minus 9, which is going to be 2, right? So same way you do the math for the third row. 1 minus 1 over 2 times 2, which is 1 minus 1, so 0. Then 1 minus half times negative 4. 1 minus half times negative 4, that's going to be 1 plus 2, which is 3. Okay, then negative 1 minus 1 minus half times 1, which is negative 3 over 2. And then negative 3 minus half times 6, negative 3 minus 3, which is negative 6. Okay. So once you get this, so now we want to make this guy as 0. Which one is 0? We will make this as 0 using what? Using this row. Okay, so using negative 4, we want to make this as 0. So we want, we want to use this 5, because if you use this may get back to some numbers. So we want these two to remain as 0. So we use this one to make this thing as 0. Alright, so now we're using row 2 to make row 3 is 0. So the transformation is row 3 equals row 3 minus the coefficient here, which is 3 over 5 times row 2. So the first row remains as it is, the second row also remains as it is now. It's only the third row that is changing. So this is 3 minus 3 over 5 times a 5, so that's going to be 3 minus 3, which is a 0. Then negative 3 over 2 negative 3 over 2 minus 3 over 5 times negative half. So that's going to be negative 3 over 2 plus 3 over 10. So if you do the simplification, it comes out to be, you can take this 3 outside as LCM, minus half, so that is going to be 3, it's going to be 1 minus 5 over 10, so that's going to be negative 12 over 10, that's 6, negative 6 over 5. And this row value is negative 6 minus the 3 over 5 times the 6, so minus 3 over 5 times the 6. So that is negative 6 minus 18 over 5. So that's going to be negative 48 divided by so 36 is let's see, oh, okay, negative 6 minus 3 over 5 times 2, it should be 2, because you're looking at row 2, right? So this is going to be a 6 here, so that makes it 36 over 5. Okay, negative 36 over 5. So this is now the coefficient of x3. So all these things are equivalent. So you're transforming from here to this, and then from that to this one. So now negative 6 over 5 times x3 equals this, right? So negative 6 over 5 times x3 equals negative 36 over 5. So x3 equals negative 36 over 5 divided by negative 6 over 5. So that's going to be 6. Okay. So once you find x3, substitute for that in the previous equation, which is this. So 5x2 minus half times what x3 is 6 equals 2. So 5x2 equals 2 plus a 3, which is a 5. So x2 equals a 1. Then x1 you substitute over here, it's going to be 2x1 minus 4 times x2, which is a 1, plus 1x times x3, which is a 6, equals what? Equals 6, this equation, right? 2 times x1 minus 4 times x2, which is a 1, plus 1 times x3, which is a 6, equals 6. So this makes it 2x1 equals 4, so x1 equals 2. So you can actually substitute back these three values for x1, x2 and x3 in all these equations, and you can make sure you get the right hand side coefficient, right hand side values. Okay, alright, so you should be able to do the same kind of problems. So given again linear equations like this, write them coefficients right hand side. So make these two things 0 first. So the way you do them is make them 0 is using the row 1. So row 2 is going to be row 2 minus the coefficient here is 2 over 1 times row 1. Then row 3 equals row 3 minus the coefficient is 1 over 1 times row 1. So that makes these two 0, and then transform these things like this. So then make this as 0 using row 2. So that transformation is row 3 equals row 3 minus negative 2 over negative 1 times row 2. So then this comes out to be, this makes it 0, then 2 minus 2 times negative 1, so that is actually 4, then 6 minus 2 times negative 1, which is 8. Okay, so 4x3 equals 8, so x3 equals 2, then negative 1 times x2 minus 2 equals negative 1, so that makes it actually this is minus 1 times x2, so that x3, which is negative 2, equals negative 1, so x2 equals negative 1. Okay, then x1 plus x2 plus x3 equals 2, so x1 equals 2 minus x2 plus x3, where x3 is 2, this is negative 1, so 2 minus 1, which is going to be 1. Okay, so x1 is 1, x2 is negative 1, x3 is 2, so substitute them, you should be able to get the right hand side. Okay.